Ben Carson is considered by some on the right to be like their next savior. Like he's going to be the man that's going to take down Obama, at least in some sense, at least in terms of ideology. And so he's been making news for some crazy comments that he's made.
He's a doctor. He's a very skilled neurosurgeon.
Very skilled
at Johns
surgeon.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, when he first came out, his comments were so over the top. I assumed that he was like Dr. Keith Ablow, like a dentist, and like from 1978, and hadn't practiced in a while, and was banned from practicing in the Dominican Republic. You know, some like nonsense.
Is that true about Dr. Keith Ablow?
No, but it could be.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I don't believe that guy's a doctor. Okay,
No,
but
I
anyway,
hear you.
but it turns out actually Dr. Ben Carson is a very respected surgeon, and he's not only at Johns Hopkins but a really acclaimed one. What did you say?
Documentaries have been made about him, and also I found out, according to Wikipedia,
Cuba Gooding Jr. played him.
Yeah. Oh, you probably refuted at one point.
I don't think I did.
No. Oh well. Anyway, he was also the first surgeon ever to separate conjoined twins, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But what does that have to do with him being the savior of the Republican Party? Well, you don't just go from being a doctor to being like the next president, obviously. There's got to be a next step. And so he's been saying some crazy stuff, completely just founded on his religious beliefs.
But
that's the connecting part right there.
Conservatives, they love him. They love him.
Oh, totally.
I got friends of my mom's trying to convert her, and they're like, "This Ben Carson, Ben Carson, you'd like him," they say to my mom.
Yeah.
I like the way that you'd like him. He's black.
Yeah, that's right.
I said black.
Yeah, you're liberal. You'll like him.
Yeah. And so why don't we actually show you the statements that he's made that have gotten the most attention. He was on talking about gay marriage. Here's what he said.
Marriage is between a man and a woman. It's a well-established fundamental pillar of society. And no group, be they gays, be they NAMBLA, be they people who believe in bestiality, it doesn't matter what they are, they don't get to change the definition. So it's not something that's against gays, it's against anybody who wants to come along and change the fundamental definitions of pillars of society. It has significant ramifications.
It's painful how wrong they are. The definition of marriage has been changed a lot, and in good ways too. For example, when we now marry for love, before it was simply a property exchange. Women were considered property, and you would have to pay for that property. That's why you would give a dowry.
That's the actual definition of marriage that I like.
So you want to go back to that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the original definition of marriage. I don't think it should have been changed in the first place.
Right, and there were arranged marriages, obviously, etc.
There was no interracial marriage. That was a pillar of society
How
for like
can you
150
change the
years in
definition of marriage by letting white people and black people get married, John? How could you do that?
Yeah.
Pillar
I'm sure he's been posed with that many times.
Forget
It probably
white people and
hasn't
black Jews and Asians. Come on.
Well, they'd be like, the marriages in L.A. and New York would be cut by half if you didn't allow that.
Who are we supposed to marry? Other Jews?
It's crazy,
I don't think so.
crazy talk.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's gotten criticism for those comments, although obviously the right just absolutely loves it because, you know, like we said, he's a noted philosopher and theologian. Oh, no, wait, no, he's a surgeon. Doesn't have anything to do with religion, but whatever, that's what he's becoming
He's a very
famous for.
deeply religious man.
He spoke at the February of this year, the National Prayer Breakfast. That was like his coming out party, I guess.
In a manner of speaking.
Yeah. So he's saying that those comments were taken out of context.
And joining me now is Dr. Ben Carson, Director of Pediatric Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital and a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
You know, I think, you know, in terms of what was said on Sean Hannity's show, that was taken completely out of context and completely misunderstood in terms of what I was trying to say. You know, as a Christian, you know, I have a duty to love all people, and that includes people who have other sexual orientations, and I certainly do.
They define love oddly.
Yeah, so that was half an apology. He never took anything back. And then, of course, then he's going to double down and say, oh, the liberals are the real problem. See, it's funny, when he's not on Fox News, he seems slightly conciliatory.
Yeah.
He goes back on Fox News or conservative talk show, went on Mark Levine's show, and all of a sudden, no. He's back to being totally right-wing. So let's watch that.
They don't want a conversation, do they? They don't want us to engage. In fact, they
No, they want to shut us up completely.
Yeah.
And that's why the attacks against me have been so vicious, because I represent, you know, an existential threat to them. They need to shut me up. They need to get rid of me. They can't find anything else to delegitimize me, so they take my words, misinterpret them, and try to make it seem that I'm a bigot.
You're attacked also in many respects because of your race, because you're not supposed to think like this and talk like this. A lot of white liberals just don't like it, do they?
Well, you know, they're the most racist people there are, because You know, they put you in a little category, a little box. You have to think this way. How could you dare come off the plantation?
All right. Yeah, three things about this. First of all, Dr. Ben Carson's got to stop wearing his coat on TV. You're not about to perform surgery. It's not like you come out of Andrea Mitchell and you're like, all right, let's scrub. Okay, you're going to get a chance to put the doctor coat on later when you're at the
photo
hospital.
that we used of him.
No. When, on Andrea Mitchell's show, he was also at the okay.
In fairness.
Look what we made him do.
Right. Number two, Mark Levine's really in the running for top 3 most annoying people in America. Like, yeah, it's the liberals, isn't it? Right? Oh, yeah, of course, it's the liberals. Number 3, you got to, black conservatives, please stop with the Liberal Plantation talk. It's really stupid, and it doesn't help your cause, and it really alienates only 98% of other African Americans in the country. So.
Yeah,
just word to the wise.
Any conservative who gets a public forum and espouses the idea that gay people are like NAMBLA or people who want to have sex with horses is a fool, and we will mock for being an ignorant douchebag.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, jackbag. I got to work there. Jackbag in. So it didn't matter that you're black. We'd do it to anybody. We did it to Rick Santorum, and he was white. We're the most liberal, white liberals. I'm the most racist person there is. I'm the most racist person there is.
That's what completes the circle, though, because like what he'd set up until that point would have, possibly got him elected as a Republican senator or something. But to be a contributor on like Hannity's show someday, you have to do the full circle and say that it's actually the liberals that are racist. Blacks are just loved by Republicans and conservatives. It's really the liberals keeping them down. And so now he can get hired by Fox News.
JR, do you enjoy being referred to as being on the Liberal Plantation? Is that something that might convert you to being a conservative like Ben Carson and Alan West plan?
Well, as I was, as I always say before, you hear certain terms and you're like, oh, this guy's on that frame. Moving on. When you say anything about, racists in general, when I hear certain things, I'm like, oh, I don't need to get upset about this guy. He's a racist. Move on. Push him out of our brain. So there's certain trigger words that they've been taught. And then I'm not sure who they're pulling in with these words. Like, I don't know. Well, I guess maybe other white conservatives that think it the way he does. But as soon as he says they want me on the Liberal Plantation, there's certain people he's reaching out to. That's the word for I'm one of these guys. Please pay me.
Yeah, please pay me. By the way, he's retiring from Johns Hopkins next year. So
speaking of that, by the way, do we pay JR?
Yes.
And so Johns Hopkins specifically had a problem with what he said because he's known as a representative of that organization, obviously. And we played you his quasi-apology that he gave. He actually has a written apology that I think is actually pretty powerful, or at least effective. It's an actual apology.
He had to, that did not satisfy.
No, not at all. But I think that this might, well, you guys be the judge, I guess. He says, I am sorry for any embarrassment this has caused, but what really saddens me is that my poorly chosen words caused pain for some members of our community, and for that I offer a most sincere and heartfelt apology. Hurting others is diametrically opposed to who I am and what I believe. While I do believe marriage is between a man and a woman, there are much less offensive ways to make that point.
Okay.
It's a good apology.
That's a real apology. And what happened is that he got pulled into a meeting with the head of his department at Johns Hopkins. This is literally what happened. And I think that they, gave him they had a conversation about the effects of his words, right? And they somehow convinced him it was not a wise course. So, for example, he was about to give the commencement speech, I think, at graduation, or is that what they call it?
Yes.
And now there's a whole student movement to make sure he doesn't give it.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's not a matter of threats or anything. I think the head of the faculty is saying, look, there's probably gay faculty, Bob.
Gay students.
Right, and you know the students. Do you really want to say that about Professor Livingston, whatever it is, right? And do you really want the students to pull you from this? I mean, and have maybe a real heartfelt conversation about, come on, Ben, do you really believe this?
You're brilliant at what you do. You have a lot to offer. You're leaving us with no choice, and you're a freaking doctor, man. You're supposed to make people better.
Yeah, and so then you have this awkward situation where it's obvious that he doesn't really believe the things he's saying in this apology, unless, he could have had a conversion through a real conversation there. But now he's in the worst of all worlds, because when he apologizes like that, the conservatives are like, they made him do it.
But he's
He's back on the plantation.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.